Good evening, Littleton. Welcome to the Select Board meeting for Monday, December 16th. We'll start as always with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So tonight we'll start with public input. Proceed on to appointments for Cultural Council and an ADA coordinator. Request to use the town common for the People's March and Women's Rally. At 7 o'clock, we'll continue the Taylor Street truck exclusion hearing. 7:45, we'll have a joint meeting with Park and Rec to talk about the contract for the tennis courts and Whitcomb Field renovation with the Activitas, and to appoint someone to the Park and Rec Commission vacancy, and also for also with Park and Rec disclosure of a municipal employee having a financial interest. 8 o'clock, we'll go to licensing and sign and approve a whole bunch of licenses for the year. 8:15, we'll have select board discussions about Purple Heart communities, the Littleton Charter Community, Littleton Charter Committee, Nagog Orchard update. We're going to table the signature authority for accounts payable till our next meeting. Update the HCA for sanctuary, and talk about the ARPA funding. 8:35, we're on the minutes, and we're done by 8:40, so.
That's a lot of laughter.
Start with the mail.
Even the crowd doesn't believe you. That's a bad sign, Mr. Chairman.
You gonna put money on that? Lost the crowd.
Let's start with the mail.
Sounds great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Select Board. Just get there. We've got vacancies for our town boards. We have Agricultural Commission, Conservation, Cultural Council, Economic Development Committee, Historical Commission, Master Plan Implementation Committee, Permanent Municipal Building Committee, Transportation Advisory Council, Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Finance Committee. Sign up to receive public notifications for the town of Littleton. Scan the QR code on your screen or register at www.littletonma.org/subscribe. Community impacts, public safety activity, transportation issues, town meeting changes, public health concerns, town events. Stay informed. Here we've got a gift acceptance form from the EHS COA, party and gift from the Littleton Friends of the COA, the amount of $1,160, new building gift fund. Thank you very, very much to the Friends. And we also have one for EHS COA, parting the gift, resident supporting tread at the Littleton Holiday Bazaar in the amount of $652. And the tread is the tax relief for the elderly and disabled fund. And another gift acceptance form for EHS COA from the John C. Morrison and Eunice P. Morrison Charitable Foundation, the amount of $2,500 to help continue the mission for the residents of Littleton. And it'll be expended $2,000 will go to the Tread Fund, $500 to outreach programs and gift funds. Here we have another gift acceptance form for PRCE, and that was from the Mighty Oak Foundation, the amount of $1,339.18 as a donation to the Holiday Helpers Gift Fund. The intent of the program is to help Littleton families experiencing financial difficulties during the holiday season through community donations. They supply clothing needs and 3 wanted items per child to help lighten the financial burden of the winter holidays. And that is it.
Thank you to all of our residents who have been so generous since our last meeting. So thank you. Public input. If anyone wants to speak? Yeah.
George Sanders, 672 Great Wood. Mr. Chairman, just want to say that Wilton missed out on some of the money that the MOD, that's the Massachusetts Office of Disability, gave out. They gave out almost $5 million this fiscal year to 59 communities. So hopefully next year we'll be one of those communities that's going to get some of that money that they're going to be giving out. And the other thing is that with regards to the sanctuary, with the smell that's going on over there in the Foster Street area, I got an email from Jim Assyrio, secretary there, and she said that Mr. Assyrio office heard from the Cannabis Control Commission, and while they are still looking further into my letter that I sent to Representative Donahue, who's the chair on the House side with the Cannabis Commission there, they have contacted their enforcement team to check in and ensure that the business is in full compliance with state regulations and all odor mitigation systems are working. So I'll just let you know that.
Thank you.
Thanks, George.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Okay, moving on, members update. You want to start, Karen?
December 7th was the Holiday Bazaar. Was that before or after this? I think it was after this last meeting, right? Yeah. So it was a huge success, I thought. I was happy to attend, and this is one of my favorite things in Littleton. I just think it's amazing how many organizations we have doing good things out here. And it sort of always is a good reminder of all the good that we do and is done for our people and by our people here. So many thanks to those organizers. The CLC met, Clean Lakes Committee that is, met on Monday, December 10th. Their internet was down, so I missed that one. They do plan on meeting with Alicia and the PR Commission to discuss better coordination soon. Communication in that meeting is probably going to be held in January. Spec Pond Association had a meeting on the December 12th, and I was sick, so I'll be meeting with them later this week during office hours from 1 to 3. But the Sustainability Committee met online, and so I was able to attend that, and they're just keeping an eye on that shared sustainability coordinator position. I'm trying to see how they can help support getting somebody hired for that. There's a question, I guess an open question, as to whether they can shorten the length of time that the coordinator serves and increase the pay being offered, because they're not, I guess they're having a hard time getting the position filled at the range that is currently being offered. And then many thanks to Jim Arciero and the Littleton Police Department for Toys for Tots on the 14th, and that was a huge success. Again, another good example of good people doing good things for the holidays. So that's it.
Nothing for me.
Chuck?
Yeah, piggyback on the Toys for Tots, certainly, and the holiday helpers. We just saw a check from the Mighty Oak Fund, and that is in large part due to the trivia night that I mentioned last time. And just like you teed it up, saying thank you to everybody who just repeatedly steps up and supports everything that we have going on.
Same thing, Toys for Tots, a great annual event. I was going to mention the Park and Rec, so that's something that just reach out if you know someone that's neighbor is struggling. This is the time of year to reach out and try to steer them in the right direction with some of these services that a lot of people might not know about. So the town does have a lot of access to different food banks and different obviously toy drives and things like that. You can reach out to Elder Human Services, just steer them in the right direction, and hopefully we can take care of our residents. I wanted to thank all the public input that we received last meeting on the Taylor Street truck exclusion discussion, the hearing, and the several weeks of emails that we've received as well. That kind of put a lot of things in perspective. We've got a lot of historicals on it and things like that. Gives us a better idea of what some of the issues and challenges that we're facing regarding not just Taylor, but that entire area with traffic. So we do appreciate the public input. There's quite a bit. Holiday Bazaar, and that's just a great annual event that the town puts on. A lot of great vendors. I think we're going to grow out of the space pretty soon if this keeps going in the direction I think it will. Merry Christmas. I guess it's too early. Happy holidays. And I guess we could talk about, I thought we were going to have a dog hearing on this agenda. Is that, we're kicking it to next?
That was the 16th, I believe it was the 16th of January.
Yeah, the 16th.
Okay, so it's already
Yes, sir.
dated? Because I know, okay.
Yes.
I'll make sure that I
Yep.
share that information.
The
Thank you.
13th.
13th?
13th of January.
I'm sorry, thank you.
Thank you. So public, those interested in that, I know there's some chatter on social media. We do have a dog nuisance hearing on January 13th at that meeting. That's all I have. Thank you.
Since I missed the last meeting, I have a few. I went to the COA Thanksgiving Bingo, which was a huge success, which is probably where that $1,100 donation came from. I didn't win anything, unfortunately, but everyone seemed to have a great time. I've been participating in the Champions Institute, which is talking about complete streets. I had a one-on-one with the people last week. They're going to look at our complete streets policy and compare it to other policies in like-sized towns and see what we should be doing. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee is going to take the lead on looking at updating our complete streets prioritization plan. I think they're meeting tomorrow with DPW Director Yonley to kick this off, so good progress there. Mr. Duggan and I were at the photo op for the World Farmers. The Senator Eldridge got them a grant or an earmark for putting in wells over at Prouty Woods for irrigation. So thank you for all of that. I kicked off a meeting with the Park and Rec Commission and School Committee to talk about 36 King Street and basically start working on an MOU for the building and the performance space, so stay tuned for that. And on exciting news, I mentioned a while ago the Affordable Housing Trust received a grant from the state for $120,000 over the next basically 18 months for small, it's a small grant program, so basically eligible homeowners can apply for a grant of up to $7,500 for home repairs. So this program will be administered through COA, kind of like the rental assistance program. There's an application and, you're vetted. I have to get a couple contractors. We're working to sign up contractors that will be interested in participating in the program, but hopefully this program will be kicking off in either January or February, so stay tuned. So very exciting. So.
One last public announcement. For those that use the train or down there, just a reminder that Foster Street's undergoing a lot of construction. I know the signs are up, so give yourself more time if you're trying to catch a train. I know that can be tricky, so you're going to be getting routed perhaps through Balsam and around, or perhaps even up Taylor Street, trying to, as they get that road, I guess, the complete street. Get that complete.
So do you have updates? Want to give any updates on any of these projects?
Sure. I'll give you just the two projects, and then I'll turn to Jim. 36 King Street, you mentioned that you had met with Parks and Rec Commission and the school committee regarding use of the facility. We are meeting weekly on 36 King Street and on the Center and Shattuck Street with our regular weekly updates. Hot topic for 36 King Street is in terms of for our HVAC system, trying to figure out how we can take care of the building's needs, and we know that there'll be some cost associated with that, and so we're just trying to figure out how to do that and do it within the project budget. Regarding the center on Shattuck Street, we're focusing, kind of the hot topic there is we are looking to get an AV, finalize our AV scope of work, as well as to accommodate LCTV there in their studio. And to give a sense as to where we are, we've also mocked up a plaque, a dedication plaque. So if you wouldn't mind handing that over, so the board members, if you could look at that. That includes your names, so I want to make sure we're spelling everyone's names correctly. You can't use whiteout on bronze, as I've been told, so so if you could take a look at that, we wanted to, you can start that process and have folks take a look at that, and again, get back to me separately, but this is, again, sort of an initial take. It's based off the model in the library, for our dedication plaque there. So that's where we are on those two projects.
If I could just touch base with a couple other things. The annual building inspectors really getting caught up with annual inspections, and one of which is the issuing the permit for the foundation for the bank, for the new bank. That's the building, that new building right there. And we've also on Friday at I believe it's 10 a.m. the bids are due that Ryan has been working on for the infrastructure for 550 King Street, and that will, with the anticipation that will be breaking ground in the spring for that. And I am also closing the loop on more things, the Yangtze River, about the demolition of that project, and when that is going to happen, and also a much anticipated traffic plan that is supposed to be anticipated we'd be receiving by the end of the year. So I'm following up with the team of 550 King Street to get that information to pass along to the select board. That's it.
Is the construction through the center done for the sewer for the season now?
For the season it is, although we did hear this morning that maybe Bavoli may be looking for a demolition permit for the spring to kind of get some of the last remaining elements in there. So this to be continued, but the work, as we understand it, is complete for the season.
And I believe the work has started on the water line to Foxborough?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Yep, that's coming along as well.
Thank you for that.
I guess the question is, when can the town expect to have those streets sealed? And when, is that the state makes a final determination on that? Because that is a state road most of the time.
Right. So
So-
they should have, if it isn't patched up already, it should be.
No, it's patched,
Patched,
but I'm saying in general, so because Rivoli has to go back in some of that, then we're not going to see that road completed.
Great.
Until
You
the-
mean a binder, to put a binder on
Yes,
top?
thank you.
Right, yeah.
And then-
Until at least the spring, right?
Yeah,
So there's, you wouldn't,
yeah, I'm not sure that a
Yeah.
binder's gonna go down,
yeah.
that it's gonna just be patched for,
We don't like to do it in the cold anyway.
Correct.
right,
correct, yeah.
exactly,
Yeah, so they want everything to settle.
right. So development is ugly sometimes, but it's a necessary evil. Progress.
okay. Moving on to appointments. Karen Berry to the Cultural Council,
Not here.
not here.
Okay.
Anyone have any comments, concerns?
No, I read the resume. Good. Great.
She's a good kid.
Thank you.
Move that the select board vote to appoint Karen Berry as a member of the Cultural Council for a term expiring June 30th, 2027.
Second?
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
And appointing Eric Durba as ADA Coordinator. Do you want to?
Yes, it's really something that has been a concern with the town's ADA commission and the select board with our transition plan for the town properties, and having someone that's affiliated with facilities be part of that. So this is just closing that loop, and at the request of the town clerk, we have assigned that responsibility to the facilities manager.
Do you have anything to add, or?
Good evening, Diane Curry, Town Clerk. This is part of our ability, the Disabilities Commission ability to be able to apply for grants as well. So that's another huge loop that has to be closed. And so in speaking with Jeff Dugan from the state, this is one of the things that you as a committee have to vote on in order for us to be able to close that loop, so.
And then we'll be accessing all that millions of
All
dollars.
that millions of dollars that George spoke about earlier.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
1G.
Any other
Two
comments? If not, move that the Select Board vote to appoint Eric Durba as the Americans with Disabilities Act ADA Coordinator.
Second?
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
I guess his position description will have to be updated, probably.
We actually took a look at it, so the actual facilities director is responsible for all, federal requirements.
Okay,
That
that
are
works
included,
then.
and that would include the ADA.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Approve the use of the Littleton Town Common for the People's March. Do you want, anyone want to speak on?
Police and fire, all good?
Yeah. so-
Okay. Move that the Select Board approve the use of the Lower Littleton Common for a People's March and Women's Rally on January 18th, 2025, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Second?
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
I think we can't do the hearing until 7, so can we move up Diane's,
Sure.
the Diane out here? Not that we don't want to see you.
That's right, not a problem. Good evening, and thank you for having me. Diane Crory, Town Clerk. I'm also representing the Friends of Littleton Veterans. Last week, I was approached by Select Board Chairman Mark Rombacher and was asked, why is Littleton not a Purple Heart community? To which I replied, I have no idea. And by the way, what is a Purple Heart community? He stated that he would, after going upstairs and having a conversation with Jim, would send me the link and I could see for myself. Of course, as most of you know me, I'm not one to be sitting around and waiting on something. I dove right into it, and this is what I did. I knew what a Purple Heart distinction was, but does everyone, and do we all know what it takes to have it achieved? Well, here you go. The Purple Heart is a military decoration awarded by the President of the United States to soldiers who are killed or injured while serving. It is the oldest active military award in the United States. So that brings me here tonight to Littleton becoming a Purple Heart community. What and how does that happen? To earn the distinction of a Purple Heart community, a municipality must have a living or deceased Purple Heart recipient in its community, issue an official proclamation, and recognize National Purple Heart Day as August 7th. The significance of August 7th is that on August 7th, 1782, the oldest American military decoration was created as the Badge of Military Merit. Once we have these three distinctions, Purple Heart community signs become available to the town. They're a way to honor and recognize communities that support Purple Heart recipients. The Military Order of the Purple Heart sponsors the program that places these signs at the borders of communities that have been designated as Purple Heart communities. We will receive 2 free signs, and then we, the Friends, will sponsor the additional signs. Additionally, the Purple Heart Trail is another way to honor Purple Heart recipients. The Military Order of the Purple Heart established the Purple Heart Trail in 1992. So there are many ways to be able to honor Purple Heart recipients. trail systems of roads, highways, bridges, and monuments. They are marked with signs to recognize the sacrifice of those who have been awarded the Purple Heart Medal. This is just for another night and down the road, and a bit of food for thought, so to speak. Before you tonight, you have a short list of Purple Heart recipients and a proclamation, which I am asking the Select Board to accept and proclaim August 7th as National Purple Heart Day. The Select Board, in doing so, enables us the ability to do the final step, applying for the Purple Heart community status, and join the many communities around us that honor our heroes. Thank you for your time and consideration. So you have before you the proclamation that was written. Oh.
We're gonna have to vote on it first. I wouldn't want the town clerk to get upset with me.
Yeah. So,
So, are we going to read the proclamation, or are we just going to do the motion?
I guess we have to vote on it first, right?
Sure.
Well, we have to know what's on it.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
you can
probably
pass it
good.
around, yeah.
I mean,
I think it was, it was in the packet, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
it was in the packet.
So, move that the Select Board vote to declare Littleton as a Purple Heart community and recognize August 7th as National Purple Heart Day.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye. Good. Thank you, Diane, for running that, and Jim.
Are we supposed to read this in or just sign it?
It can just be added into the system, and then I can use that and apply.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Appreciate it.
Good job, Diane. Thank you.
Okay, so at 7 o'clock, we can go back to the truck exclusion hearing.
You had, what
Yeah, you said I'm supposed to read the notice, but you didn't, I have to find the notice.
I have it here. Hang on. Find it. Skip ahead. See, that's what I'm doing. Do we have to read the notice even though this is a continuation?
It was read.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was read
read.
already, yeah. I don't think so, no.
So-
It's a continuation.
Yeah, but we just need to
Reopen.
reopen
Correct.
So I move that we reopen the hearing
Fine.
on the Trailer Street truck exclusion.
It wasn't closed. It was continued.
I'm sorry, yeah,
Continue.
to continue the hearing on the.
Correct, exactly. Perfect.
So I move as amended to continue the hearing on the Taylor Street truck exclusion.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. This is a roll call, I believe, right? Karen?
Aye.
Matthew?
Aye.
Chuck?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
And Mark's an aye. So the hearing has been continued. So, do you want to start? You were leading it when I was here last time. You can catch people up to date what we left off at.
I mean, we left off with a continuance.
Yeah. So we had a lot of
Any
input.
questions?
Yeah.
There were a lot of questions.
Yeah, well, you and Chuck were here.
It was a big turnout. I would say I think most of the public comments were opposed to lifting the exclusion. I thought there were a lot of good comments about need for some additional consideration that we should give, including a study to see what the impact would be. Yeah.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I mean, we had a lot of email, obviously, on that, and before that meeting, and then I know everybody's seen it. And then leading up to this one, and you guys, watched the video, so you saw what the individuals that spoke had to say, predominantly against. I mean, it was that neighborhood, so we decided at that meeting to expand the notifications, just so it hit some of the surrounding streets that may be potentially affected one way or the other. And those notices went out, and here we are, the continuation.
Mr. Chairman, to that point, so that was sent out to 177 addresses, and we expanded beyond Taylor Street to Wickham Ave, Campbell Street, King Street from New Estate Road, from the two intersections of King Street and New Estate Road, Porter Road, and Harvard Road from Wickham to 495. So it's definitely, so hearing those questions that were raised, then we expanded that window per the board's guidance, and again, that went out to 177 addresses.
I think one of the last things we discussed was we heard a lot of opposition to it, but we didn't hear from anyone who could potentially be positively affected by it. Would it lighten the load on King Street, for example, if trucks were allowed to travel on Taylor? We didn't hear from anyone who lived on King Street or Kimball Street or other places like that. I think that was the primary reason why we wanted to expand the search.
Yeah, I think the other one is to hear from is people on Whitcomb or Porter that would be affected.
We did hear from one resident of Whitcomb who, explained that there are lots of trucks on Whitcomb. And that seems a little silly to me because Whitcomb is much narrower than Taylor over most of the length that the trucks are driving on, I believe.
No sidewalk.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we're going to continue some of the input, I know I wanted you two to be able to add
Yep.
something, but I spoke with a few more people. Obviously, just reviewing some of the emails, and I think what was lost somewhat is the original intent of this, outside of helping potential businesses have an option to get to Route 2, was also the fact we've got a school and we have a park and rec that's going to be bustling with children, and any steering away from those two facilities in front of would seem like something that we should research and look into now. That being said, and looking at the gentleman who brought in some traffic study stuff to us, it's not necessarily going to fix or alleviate that issue in front of those two buildings. We have a serious traffic jam there, like in front of most schools, I guess, at 7:30 to 8 o'clock every morning when the schools kick in. That it's a log jam in front of the school, and Park and Rec's only going to probably, hopefully won't contribute a little bit off hours there for them, thank goodness. But so I don't think the issue is going to be resolved, by doing this. I think we had some alleviation, as mentioned by the gentleman that shared this paperwork, some of the paperwork with us on some of the study. That a traffic guard, when we did have Millie McGovern out there before, the lights, and even after the lights to some extent, it allowed someone to alleviate, the mechanical part of a light stopping people, and probably they shouldn't because it's blocking traffic all the way down by the wayside, by the gas station at that light. Instead of letting get everybody through there, get those people going right and get them through, and then managing traffic a little bit more manually for those half-hour blocks in the morning and in the afternoon. I've driven through there. I know all of you have driven through that area pretty much any other time of day, and it's nothing you wouldn't expect. Not bad. You're not sitting there for 20 minutes or 50 minutes or anything. So I think it's really the biggest issue traffic-wise are those two times, which is what we'd expect. But I do want to mention the original intent was not for that purpose. We're not going to alleviate that problem with diverting a few trucks to get on the Route 2. That won't avert this issue. The initial intent was to thought of what's changed in Littleton since 1988 when that restriction was put on, and it's pretty significant. What was being used, Bruce Street was being used like our state road for traffic, for trucks. Trucks would just go right down Bruce, right down Taylor, and it would just, they could bypass that light. There was no light at Chip Shots at that time, so it's a simple right turn and go. So a lot's changed. And that's kind of, where we're at. I do think a lot more study probably needs to be done on this, and it might not just relate to, I'm worried about the school and the Park and Rec and potentially a hazard situation there. And I think if we move the cars over to Taylor, I don't think it fixes that problem, but as a few speakers had said last week and a few of the emails we had, it could actually add another issue, with children and other things there on Taylor Street. So without really resolving some of the things that we have going on in King. So that's kind of my 2 cents on what I've, just over the last 2 weeks that I've had to digest it. But I have talked to a few people on King that are for this. I don't know, I don't see anyone here today, unfortunately, but it was more just the constant trucks out in front of their houses, which unfortunately I don't think that's going anywhere anytime soon, as long as 495 is right there. Trucks are just going to use it to get on 495.
Well, there's some of them are diverted. Which would essentially be from the Patriot plant.
Yes.
So my feeling on the truck exclusion was, it wasn't to do with the school or the 36 King. It was more to do with the intersection at the depot and the truck and the railroad crossing, right? Trucks coming down and turning right there is block a lot of traffic. They have to go pretty wide to make that turn. It's an unusual intersection in that it's a 4-way intersection with a 3-way stop, so there's already confusion on what you're supposed to be doing.
Right there too.
And you have Harwood Ave coming in there, so I was more thinking about how to solve potential traffic at that intersection and what it would do for that. Personally, I don't think there's going to be a huge number of trucks that are going to favor going that direction versus 110. It's slower road, it's not a direct shot. There's several reasons you don't have direct access to.
Going over tracks and everything.
Yeah, so there's a lot of issues. I do agree that a traffic study might be in order before we make a decision, but I was more concerned about, that intersection than traffic in front of the high school. I don't know if anyone else on the board, so.
I share some of the same concerns, Mark, with that. We're in the news, maybe not once a year, but frequently enough with that intersection. And if we can, that's a safety issue. And honestly, with Waze, we've got folks that are taking a left down the tracks. Now that we have those pylons up there, that's taking care of that as well. But if we can alleviate some components of the safety issues, may be worth it. But nothing's going to do the best for all the issues that we have.
Right. If people want, we'll open it up to comment. If anyone, it's a public hearing, if anyone wants to address this.
So I brought the paperwork. Jason Burba, 71 Taylor Street. The issue with the traffic, we've looked at it, it's the left turning lane into the high school, or the right turning lane, whichever way you're coming from. It's 508 feet from the entrance to the high school to Kimball Street, which is near Dunkin' Donuts. It's almost 2 football fields long. You've got everybody trying to turn left into the high school. It blocks that right lane for anybody, so that nobody can get by in that right lane until half a dozen cars turn left into the school. Shimmies up a little bit, you get a few cars. By the time that the cars on the right are trying to go towards 495, the light's red, and it's just stacking up all the way. Maybe if we put, a police officer there, a detail there for those 45 minutes to help just, bypass the light, move those cars into that high school. The police officers know what they're doing. They can move that traffic in a heartbeat. With regards to trucks turning to go to Patriot, which is a horrible place. They're polluting a lot of our water. Everybody knows that already. There's a lawsuit that's been filed, but you have those trucks going to Patriot, they're gonna sit there at the tracks waiting until they can turn in to use that scale, which Patriot Beverage is leasing out or renting out to anybody and their brother that wants to weigh their truck. So I think that there will be a lot of 18-wheelers sitting there trying to turn. You're going to have 18-wheelers sitting there trying to take a left over the tracks. We've already had multiple incidents of You know, we got this one guy that parked his truck on the tracks, walked over to the way station. What happens? You know, the train comes through quite a bit. So I think that there should be some study done with just the traffic. We've got Christmas vacation, we've got February vacation, we've got April vacation coming up. I'll do the same thing for all 3 of those holidays, you know, and we can look at the traffic, how it's probably not gonna be much at all, because the kids aren't turning left into the school and tying it up. With regards to getting out of the parking lot, I don't know if there's an issue with using that back entrance. As it is right now, I've driven by a few times, you've got cars parked up on New State Road. Kids come out, walk up that side entrance, and their parents are picking them up on New State Road. I don't know why we don't use that to maybe at least let the kids out of there at the end of the day, not necessarily in the morning, but maybe in the afternoon, let the kids go out that way. It's gonna alleviate a lot of traffic coming out of the schools, you know, out of that school during the day. But I think we should wait and just see what can be done, you know, more productively than just removing the truck exclusion, and then see what happens. You know, so I think really we should probably just wait, see what we can do. You know, maybe the police officer detail will, you know, maybe it won't work, but I'm pretty sure it will work. That's, you know, just, you can look at these, you know, I added a couple of photos, you know, 508 feet, you got the cars, you can see all the cars trying to turn left into the parking lot, you know, and it goes all the way back to New State Road up by Corporal Field. So if we can move that traffic along, you know, moving the trucks onto Taylor Street isn't gonna do a thing. DPW's already come out and said, removing that truck restriction and allowing trucks down that road isn't gonna do a thing to alleviate any of the traffic. You know, I think a detail, you know, would be a prudent thing to try out. You know, I don't wanna spend money town, you know, either doesn't have or whatever, but, you know, I think that would probably be a good start. All right, thank you for hearing me out. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
George Sanders, 672 Great Road. Mr. Chairman, who came up with this decision to look at this?
I brought it forward, talking to the businesses, and then obviously this chief and the DPW and the schools, just, and knowing we're gonna be moving into Park and Rec with students.
It's also something that's come up.
Right.
It was kind of left.
Yeah, I don't want to make it sound like this hasn't come up prior. I know when I came on the board, there was a lot of discussion about, let's really look at this and start developing a plan on moving traffic using Taylor Street as it is a
Well, I think that
option.
perhaps maybe this came to light before some decisions that was made in Washington there with regard to bike lanes, bikers, and pedestrians. Right now, that is a top safety issue with the government on pedestrians. Crossing the highway, putting in pedestrian crossings, the bike lanes, all this information. I think that if you're going to go in and make a decision to undo something, you ought to have the statistic that shows that there's a reason and why it needs to be undone.
Yeah.
Unless you have that, I can't find reason for you to go in and change something when you don't have the data to support the change. So if the town is serious about wanting to do this, but then you have to spend money sometime, and you have to get the data, which if you're going to go to the state and tell them, they may very well ask you, well, where's the traffic study? Where's the survey that you did? And you're just coming in here telling us that you want to change this arbitrary. Sometimes that doesn't work. And I would suggest that if Littleton is going forth with this, then you ought to spend the money and know exactly what you're talking about when you go in there. Here's the problem. And this is how we eliminate it. And I don't hear that. Thank you.
So, yeah, I think a traffic study would help. I don't know that a traffic study will tell us how many trucks are going to be using
I think
Taylor
it'll
Street.
tell Patriot, would be able to say we have 25% of our trucks would use that to get on, to do their Route 2 routes, right?
Right.
That, or we could literally get a solid number there. Right now, those are just discussions, so verbally telling, but not, sitting there saying, let me see your manifest, and let's see what the actual traffic, where your trucks would actually go. As far as the trucks that are coming from air in, I don't particularly know what the benefit of is, like I think you had mentioned, of using the Taylor Street where you'd have to take a hard right turn, go at a light, go over tracks, take a left to go down there. I understood the Bruce Street one back in the 80s because it was a straight shot, no lights. And you're just kind of going through that one intersection down by very far, well, it was very far. But it was, yeah.
And sure. Also, from an enforcement point of view, I will say that it's very hard to enforce a truck exclusion on that road because one entire side of the road is mainly industrial, so you have to stop every truck and say, where are you going, right? Because the trucks that are doing business on that road are allowed to be there. Go ahead, Mr. Sanders.
George Sanders, 672 Great Road. You not only have trucks that enter into Littleton from air, they're coming from the auction that's in Shirley, because I've been behind them and following right through the rotary, right on to 110, and right on to 495. They don't take the cut to go to 2 and then go to 495. They just shoot right around and come right on into Littleton.
So if we decide to table this and do a traffic study, how do we go about doing?
Yeah, if it's the will of the board, I'm willing just to, we take no action on this and we vote in the negative until at a later date, at a later time if we so want to. I've heard enough from the community of the public to realize this probably isn't going to alleviate, the cost reward just isn't there, or the risk
Cost benefit.
cost benefit or anything, however you want to look at it, just isn't there to me. It's hard for me to say that because I do recognize both roads are 40 mile an hour, but I did, someone had sent in an email and it stated specifically the trucks are right where we want them on a state road, and that kind of stuck with me. So that's kind of where I'm.
I agree with Mr. Sanders, there's not enough data here to make a change. We don't know whether the benefit will outweigh the detriment. The benefit to King Street will outweigh the detriment to Taylor Street, so I would not vote to lift the exclusion at this time.
So I'm all for that. I'm asking if do we want to take the next step and do a traffic study, and if we do, how do we go about doing that? Or do we not?
I think no action would be the right thing to do right now, especially from a fiscal standpoint. I think a traffic study is not going to show enough evidence in either direction, and they're not cheap. And I feel the whole, again, cost-benefit analysis, we're not going to get back the return. And frankly, I don't think we're going to get the data that we're looking to get to make a decision. And I think we can continue to monitor it, and if something does happen from a developmental standpoint, whether it's at Patriot or further down Taylor Street or wherever, where we could kind of wrap in a traffic study with some other development, that might be more cost beneficial towards us. I think no action is probably the right action to take at this point.
Okay.
I concur. I think there may be other places in town that would benefit more from a traffic study. From this evidence, it seems like it's a big mess for about 30 to 40 minutes a day. maybe twice a day, I don't know, on weekdays. So, but it's not constantly jammed up all the time.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I might, I think, I agree that we shouldn't take action right now in terms of whether a traffic study is worth it, especially, as Gary pointed out, especially with Parks and Rec moving in. You know, yeah, it's only 30 minutes a day, but the school board and the town voted to start the high school later in the day. If the traffic is making folks start, 40 minutes early to get to school on time, we're not doing our kids a whole lot of good. And so I do think that there's merit to looking at the traffic, especially in light of the fact that we're going to be seeing an increase. Whether we wait for that increase first or not, I think, is debatable, but I do think it's worth it to take a look there, because it's a major log jam, and it's one that is a daily hassle and has real impacts on the kids that are attending and the teachers that are teaching, and et cetera. And it'll just have even more impacts on more kids and more parents when Parks and Rec moves in.
I mean, do you think a police detail would alleviate that?
Probably.
So it might be like, instead of, we could probably afford a police detail for a whole year for the cost of a traffic study.
Yeah, that's,
Well, I think
We
the
could
police
try it.
detail's just going to push the traffic. I mean, the traffic, I come from the other side, and I can tell you,
It
it
gets
backs
backed
up all
up.
the way to 495 as
Yeah,
well. So
yeah.
having allowing more cars to turn in left is just going to make the traffic on the other side back up more.
they could stop that log jam, that left lane from stopping anybody from going into that right lane, like that's shown here. So they would alleviate that, which would keep things moving a little more.
I mean, we're not even, we just shifted from talking really about this truck issue to
Traffic
talking
in
about
general.
traffic, which is,
Right.
which is
Sure.
gonna be traffic issue there regardless of the truck issue.
Well, but
right?
we brought it up because
No, I know,
we're
I'm just saying.
asking whether to do a traffic study,
Right,
so
no, I just think it's.
I think there's merit to a traffic study.
Yeah.
But I think it makes sense if we wanted to try a police detail first and see if that answers the mail, then that's great.
Yeah.
And that, that would definitely,
more comfortable
let's
with
have
that.
some conversations with the chief. And
Yeah.
He's got enough time in the community to know what works and the dangers of putting a traffic,
Right,
someone there.
right.
And he has had people out there, so
Let's see
there
what he
may be some
thinks.
data.
Yeah.
So procedurally, we need to close the hearing, and then do we take a vote, or?
Close the hearing.
No.
I'm
So-
sorry.
So I move that we close the hearing on the Taylor Street truck extension.
Second.
Okay, moved by Matthew, second by Karen. It's a roll call. Karen?
Aye?
Matthew?
Yes.
Chuck?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
And Mark's and I. So the hearing's closed. So now, do we,
I can, since I brought it forward, I will vote to leave the truck exclusion in place on Taylor Street.
Do we even need to vote?
I
Like,
think we take
it's no
no
action,
action, just as
basically?
an
Take
environment.
an action.
Yeah, so I think we're done.
yeah, okay. Okay,
Thank you for all the input that we received. It was very, very helpful. Thank you.
Appreciate the engagement.
so we're a little ahead of schedule then with
Boy,
the
Mark.
Park and Rec. Are you, is enough of the commissioners here, or do you want us to move? Okay.
Okay.
Licensing.
Do
We're
they
not
have to have a
online.
quorum if it's a joint, as long as we have a quorum amongst the two boards?
Be better to wait.
Just for
Sorry?
time.
Well, she said that there was a Zoom component for Parks and Rec, so.
Yeah, there is, they're plugging in there, so I just wait and,
Till the time at least.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have other.
We can see it, I don't see anybody there, is that
Oh, yeah,
correct?
I don't,
So-
there's someone
There's
there, I
one
can't
person.
tell. But the easiest to do is just the licensing at this point.
I'm still signing.
Okay, licensing. So this is our annual licenses for a whole bunch of stuff. Package stores, entertainment, so on and so forth.
We've all got carpal tunnel for this.
Yeah. And all the licenses were sent out, and the chiefs had no issues with renewing anything.
Correct.
And they're Yeah, so these are all just renewals.
All just renewals, correct?
The one incident we had was Jennifer Street, which was resolved, and they haven't had any issues since, correct?
That's what we're aware of, yeah.
Okay. You're up, Matthew.
Move that the Select Board vote to approve the annual renewal of alcohol licenses as cited within the Select Board packet for the calendar year 2025. License issuance contingent upon satisfactory inspections and submission of all required documents, fees, and payments of municipal charges to be reviewed by Town Administrator.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye. Move that the Select Board vote to approve the annual renewal of all common victualers licenses as cited in the packet for the calendar year 2025. License issuance is contingent upon satisfactory inspections and submissions of all required documents, fees, and payments of municipal charges to be reviewed by Town Administrator.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Move that the Select Board vote to approve the annual renewal of all entertainment licenses as cited in the packet for the calendar year 2025. License issuance is contingent upon satisfactory inspections and submission of all required documents, fees, and payments of municipal charges to be reviewed by Town Administrator.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye. Move that the Select Board vote to approve the annual renewal of all entertainment and auto amusement licenses as cited in the packet for the calendar year 2025. License issuance is contingent upon satisfactory inspections and submissions of all required documents, fees, and payments of municipal charges to be reviewed by Town Administrator.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye. Move that the Select Board vote to approve the annual renewal of all Class 1 licenses as cited in the packet for the calendar year 2025. License issuance is contingent upon satisfactory inspections and submission of all required documents, fees, and payments of municipal charges to be reviewed by Town Administrator.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye. Move that the Select Board vote to approve the annual renewal of all Class 2 licenses as cited in the packet for the calendar year 2025. License issuance is contingent upon satisfactory inspections and submissions of all required documents, fees, and payments of municipal charges to be reviewed by Town Administrator.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Last one.
Move that the Select Board vote to approve the annual renewal of all lodging house licenses as cited in the packet for the calendar year 2025. License issuance is contingent upon satisfactory inspection and submission of all required documents, fees, and payments of municipal charges to be reviewed by Town Administrator.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye. I want to raise.
I would say we might have to, those might have to be added to those.
They haven't signed them back.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You wanted to sign the back?
What's that?
You want
Yeah,
them- yeah,
please,
just-
please, yes, thank you.
There was a backing on a couple of those that,
Oh.
Okay.
They just get, pleasures get done.
I'm not done.
But you are.
No, yeah, these I am, but
Yeah.
common victualler.
Okay, Littleton Charter Committee.
once again, and we took everything into account. Ryan, thank you, and Jim, thanks.
Yeah, no.
If you wanted to speak to it a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. So next steps, thank you for the suggested changes. They've been accepted, and what we'll do moving forward, what you have to, as a board now, need to understand is the process and whether it's going to be done in a way that there's, the names will be taken out, and everyone every application is assigned a number, and so you are reviewing based upon the numbers, and not having names directly related to that, and how you would like the process to do, and going forward. Or you can take it just straight up as you would someone applying for a job or anything like that. So then once you make that decision, then I will forward the information to the Collins Center, in which then that will engage them and hold an initial meeting with the initial meeting under contract and going forward with the select board.
Okay. So, does anyone have any feeling on whether these should be anonymized or?
I think for discussion purposes, Yeah. It might be nice.
Scrub them.
Have them anonymous?
Well, so I would prefer to see names when I'm reviewing them,
Certainly, yeah.
but I think for discussion purposes, it might be useful to have them be numbers,
Okay.
just so we don't offend anybody.
Okay, just like we do any of the other.
It allows us to say things like, say no more easily, I think, honestly.
Why just stare at me when you said that?
Okay. I mean, that's just, we don't even know how many people are going to apply.
Right, well-
You might get 9.
Right.
You know, so,
Okay.
yeah, so there'll be numbers, there'll just be
So-
numbers. And then
Yeah,
after
like we
the-
did with,
after the first review, I mean, those numbers, we're
So-
basically just eliminating, just, you know.
So
but-
in our, when they're presented to us, we know the names, but then everyone will be assigned a number as we're discussing them in our.
Correct.
In our
yeah.
deliberations.
Where you implement the numbering system is, that's up to the select
Right.
board, whether it's the very beginning, you get numbered, or you get however you want to do it, so yes. Okay.
Okay. And so the letter is ready to post, and we're going to announce.
Right, right. So it's just, we have final buy-in, and then we also are also telegraphing about how we're going to deliberate that, because I think that's going to be meaningful to some of the people who apply, that, you know, that the names would not be used in the deliberations. So I think the board's goal is to then bring that back at your meeting, first meeting in February, so that.
I think we're having a special meeting just for this, right, in February? Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, okay.
to deliberate
So
that.
just so people know, when we speak to public with the initial review, to get it down to the number that we want to speak in numbers. After that, obviously, the people that are selected can be their names, which obviously the public know, and we will have them. They're on the committee, so they have to be. So,
Okay. Okay,
Mr. White.
okay. So, and then we're going to announce this through our normal means of publicizing this, and we should reach out to the chairs of all the elected boards so that they can,
Right, in the newsletter, and
Yep.
another thing that we want to, if you want that to be the maiden voyage announcement of the podcast, we can do that, and if, happy to have that conversation and would shepherd that through, and I believe that Vice Chair Morrison is going to be the first victim, a guest. And of the podcast, and we'll continue to do outreach, put it on the website, all the social medias that you all have. I'm sure you please advocate for it, and go from there.
Rob Houston, 55 Jennifer Street. I don't know, I guess, the public comment on the charge, but can I make one comment? I know you guys have already finalized it, I don't know, but I'm a little nervous about the idea that I was fine with the chair being responsible for preparing the agenda, but notifying members of the meetings at least 2 weeks prior to the meeting, and these meetings are twice a month, right? Which means you're coming out of a meeting, and within 3 days or whatever, you're now publishing an agenda for the next meeting. The turnaround time on that strikes me as A, short, but B, also unnecessary. I don't think that level of detail is needed in here, and I don't know that you need it. So I would suggest that they have to provide the notice and the publishing of the agenda in compliance with open meeting laws, which is, I think, 48 hours or 72 hours, or a week even. I just think 2 weeks is too short of a turnaround time for whoever it is that's responsible with coming up that agenda. And that was really all I had.
thank you.
You have it written?
I think Ryan's pulling it up.
I think the intent was to make sure that the charge is understood, that the expectation is to meet twice a month, so we want. Yeah, I wanted just to see that, bring it up so we can have discussion.
George Sanders, 672 Great Road. When is this application gonna be put up so that the public can download it, fill it out?
It'll,
Next few days.
yeah, it'll be the next few days. Now that we're having
Yeah.
a discussion, everything's okay, looking for movement forward.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Where were you referring to, Mr. Houston?
Sorry, it's in the governance.
Okay, I see.
2, 4, 6, bullet down.
The chair shall be responsible for preparing the agenda, notifying members of the meetings at least 2 weeks prior to the meeting, except in emergency circumstances.
I don't think
That's just a
that-
standing meeting.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that the agenda is set, it just means that
It's a standing meeting.
you're notifying them of the next date of the next meeting,
That's-
2 weeks ahead.
As we do that, I think a lot of committees do that, and that's just to let them know, is your schedule clear? Let's set the date for the next meeting at this meeting. Not talking about the agenda necessarily there, but just setting the date.
Well, which would be fine, my experience on that is if you're not gonna set the meetings like you guys do, right? You set a meeting schedule well in advance. With a group like this, it's meeting twice a month. Seems like that's the way we ought to be doing it. And, you know, agreeing to the schedule in advance, even if it's quarterly or whatever. My point, and if you're not going to do that, then you schedule the meeting as you're concluding the current meeting, right? And you get everybody on board. My only point on this bullet item is it strikes me as being overly detailed. I don't know that you need that, is really all I'm trying to say. And it sets up kind of a rule that we may find it a challenge to deal with 8 months from now when it's just not working right. That's all. So,
I don't have an issue
it's
with it.
okay. You guys do what you want to do. It's your, you know,
Yeah.
committee.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I think the chair is going to have an expected responsibility. This is a heavy lift for a chair that's going to do this. I believe that it's important that individuals on this, we don't want to scare people away by saying you're just going to, all of a sudden, you're going to be told, hey, we have a meeting in 3 days, we have a meeting in a week. This is something that someone, oh, they're going to let us know 2 weeks in advance of a schedule, and we can, that was kind of the intent of this, so people understand we have a
Yeah,
meeting.
I think they can, I think when they get together, they can
Right,
put
you're
out
setting
the
the date.
next.
Establish a cadence. You know, like many of the subcommittees that we've set up, it's like
Yeah.
every other Wednesday we're meeting, and
Yeah,
So,
And then remind them 2 weeks ahead of time.
Well, that was kind of my point, right? I mean, rely on the committee.
thanks, Rob.
Sorry.
Yeah.
yep. So,
you comfortable?
It doesn't need to
I
be
think,
changed.
I don't think it needs, yeah, if they want to set up standing meetings, they can do that. It's still effectively the same thing.
Yeah.
No one's going to police them on
Right.
on doing this, so. I understand the language change, but I don't think it's
Yeah.
worth doing necessarily another draft, so. So are we okay with this going forward?
Yep.
Being
Yep.
posted and, okay,
Yep.
okay,
I am.
thank you.
Thank you.
And we said that
Thank the team, too, you guys.
these are due back on like January 25th, was it?
I believe that's what we were talking about. Yeah.
Get your applications in,
January 29th.
January 29th. Okay. Thank you.
Flood the airwaves.
Okay. Do they have, you have a quorum now? I can't see who's online.
Two. Yeah, do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Alicia says we have a quorum.
Okay, so we'll go back to, are you in session?
Yes.
So, I'd like to call the Park and Rec Commission meeting to order on December 16th, 2024.
Great, okay. So the first item is the contract.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I can take this. So this is the contract for Activitas. Activitas is the designer for the project. anything over 50,000, we have to come before the board, so we've already kind of started our preliminary steps on that front, so this is just really, more than anything, just a formality to make sure that you're abiding by the board's policies.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions, comments?
Nope. We were prepped on this already. So news was coming. So thank you, guys.
Move that the select board authorize the town administrator to execute a contract with Activitas in the amount of $112,900 for professional design, permitting, bidding, and construction administration of the construction of tennis courts at the middle school and renovations of Whitcomb Field.
Second?
Moved by Matthew, second by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Park and Rec vacancy.
Good evening, everyone. So we do have two individuals for the 20B exemption, Austin Lynn and Perry Kinney.
I think we're doing
We're doing the
vacancy.
vacancy for the
first.
board.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear vacancy. My apologies. Okay, so yes, we had a Scott Brown, who was one of our park commissioners. He did put in a resignation, which the park commission did sign letter for notice of the vacancy. And tonight we have Norm Young here, and he has put in an application to fill that vacancy for the park commission.
All right.
Would you like to say a few words?
Come on up, Norm.
Hey, right now you got a lot of votes, so don't mess it up.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to, I've got my application in for the vacant spot. I've worked closely through the baseball board with these guys for the last 10 years or so, and I want to help with some of the great work that they're doing. I think this would be a good opportunity for me to throw my hat in the ring since I just left that board. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for you volunteering.
Ready to go. Move that the Select Board and Park and Recreation Commission vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 11, to vote to appoint Norm Young to fill the vacancy on the Park and Recreation Commissioners through the May 2025 annual town election.
Second.
Can we do a roll call on that one? Just
Yeah,
because
and it's a roll call of
all
both
the
boards.
parties.
Teams,
Correct.
So Karen,
Karen, aye.
Matthew,
Matthew is aye.
Chuck,
Chuck is aye.
Gary,
Gary's aye.
Mark's and I. You want to call your board? Saul's online.
Let's start with Saul.
Who else you got there?
That was an aye.
Saul's an aye.
And Peter Church is aye.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else online, or is it just Saul?
Just all.
Just Saul, okay,
All right,
okay.
Thank you, Saul.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
And welcome, and get right on.
Yeah.
You do have to
Get signed in.
Get sworn
Go to
in.
the town clerk and get sworn in, you're good to go.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Norm.
Okay, now your exemption.
So, same thing as it has been the last couple meetings here. So we just have the two individuals, Perry Kinney and Austin Lynn, for the 20B exemption.
Ready?
Any comments?
Move that the Select Board vote to acknowledge a disclosure by a municipal employee of financial interest in a municipal contract and approve the exemption requests of Perry Kenny and Austin Lynn as municipal employees in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 20B.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, second by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Do you?
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you guys for coming out.
You guys want to close your meeting?
Just the clerk. Just the chair.
Adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Saul?
He wants to close it.
Yes.
He said he's on board with closing it.
Thumbs up.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Nagog Orchard update.
We have completed a first draft of the lease. We are meeting with John Bransfield tomorrow, Mark and I, to discuss terms and go over any, big rocks that we're going to encounter. And other than that, I don't know if there's any other update.
We are addressing the letter that
The
is,
blighted trees.
exactly with the trees, and we are moving forward with that. We'll keep the select board and the abutter apprised of progress.
Do you know, are we going to hire a vendor to take the trees down, or is DPW going to do it?
It's probably going to be a vendor.
Okay. Thank you.
And all the work at the barn has been completed.
It's complete, yeah, we're processing payment.
Okay.
So we'll be able to update the board soon on the progress of the lease.
Right. So after our meeting tomorrow, if things go well, we'll probably do another site visit, site walk. And if it continues to go well, we'll have a meeting, a public meeting so that everyone that's come to our meetings to voice their concerns can throw stones.
Talk to John, yeah, right. Pelt him with tomatoes and whatnot.
So that's where we're at right now.
So okay.
Like, he has the lease, so far, we haven't even spoken yet, but, so we'll know tomorrow whether there are any intractable issues or potentially expensive issues that the town would have to address. I just don't know yet.
Okay. What's the expectation, I guess, timeline for right now?
Well, I think we can work on it, like, as soon as we get feedback from him, I would expect that we can go back and forth with Jenny and either him or his attorney to iron out the details. I don't know how many conversations it's going to take to sort out if there's issues that are really sticky.
Okay.
I suppose it could take weeks, but I don't know.
Okay. 'Cause we do have a drop dead date.
We were hoping to be done by the end of the year, but we're hitting the holidays, and it's not like we're going to probably extend that slightly, but.
But I mean, the drop dead date would be the warrant for May.
Oh, yeah, absolutely that.
Yeah.
I expect our exhaustion date is well before that.
Yeah, I thought that, because it's not really the warrant date, right? Because if this doesn't work out, we were going to plan public meetings ahead of the warrant, so.
Which we're still planning on doing. We're moving forward with that.
Right.
Rob Brown's 25 Juniper Road. So yeah, I'm curious as to the MAPC meetings. I know interviews are underway, so is there a tentative? So how are you brokering and how are you going to communicate with notice to the public as to, I heard you tonight, but I also thought there was going to be this December 31st. That sounds like that's moved. So things are moving along, and I don't know how to dovetail or understand how you're going to proceed with the MAPC process. That's one question. I'd say a second question is with regard to the trees on the abutting properties. Are those the only trees of concern expressed by abutters, or are there a volume of other trees that are not similarly being handled as yet? Those are my questions. Thank you.
As far for the first question, we are going to proceed with MAPC. I believe that we were going to start discussing firm dates with them in January, early January. I believe at that time we will have a good sense of whether we're making substantive progress with the lessee, or if there are intractable issues, then we are going to say thank you very much, and we will continue with MAPC 100%. As far as the blighted trees, we know that there are many trees with blight on that land, but I believe this is the only issue that that has been raised with us, that it is affecting anything outside of the property.
Thank you.
And if this vendor comes through, or if this leaser comes through, they'd want to get rid of those trees anyway on their own.
I don't think so, actually. Well, he may, but
He's got trees.
he does, but they are not susceptible to the same diseases as fruit trees.
That's good.
And he may very well be able to put them in between the rows. So, yeah, there may be some trees that need to come down, but he doesn't need to clear all of the trees. And he plans on keeping some of it in as an orchard for pick your own and
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. If there's nothing else, sanctuary.
So I will have to recuse myself for that.
Are we finally done with this?
So we sent the HCA's off to the Cannabis Control Commission, and they made some edits.
Right, typical, it has to do with the, please hold. It has to do with the community impact fees that it did with other, with the previous one, I believe that the select board voted a second time with eliminating pretty much the same language in the other HCA. And with that said, the CCC has been consistent here with identifying that language to be omitted. Our town council has reached an agreement with Sanctuary's attorney, and they are okay with the changes that you have before you for the vote, at which time it will be, the new amended version will be sent into the CCC for their approval.
Any discussion?
No.
Can we spell the coast with a capital C?
What's that?
Can we spell the coast with a capital C? My father worked hard to keep his name.
Do you want to make the motion?
Sure. Vote to approve, no, excuse me. Move that the select board vote to approve the updated host community agreement, HCA, with Sanctuary Medicinals, Inc.
Second.
Moved by Gary, second by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, ARPA.
Welcome back.
So, Mr. Chairman, the reason this is coming forward is just that there federal guidelines indicate that the town has to obligate all of its ARPA funds by the end of this calendar year. So our original plan coming into fiscal year 2025 was to utilize ARPA funds to pay for our sewer betterment, which the town has volunteered to be responsible for. Since that time, we've received some other guidance from the federal government to indicate that that might pose an issue in paying for a betterment wouldn't necessarily be allowable. So what we are doing is pivoting to a different plan. We're basically proposing to shift the monies we would have otherwise spent on the betterment to this high school HVAC replacement project that is already under contract. Originally, we were going to put $280,000 toward that project, and now we are proposing to put forward, I believe it's another $445,000, $446,000 toward that HVAC project. We anticipate that will kick off in either the spring or for the summer, so that work can take place when school is not in session. But we already have that agreement in place. So that is a portion of what we're doing, and then the other portion would be to allocate about $200,000 or $194,000 specifically for water projects that are associated with the sewer project. So Rivoli is doing some part of water work with their sewer project. This allows us, and it's a bit more equitable in sharing it on the water side, so that most of the, I think it's 90+% of the town is has public water and would benefit from that. So the other part of that plan is to relate to you that our intent would be to come back at the annual town meeting and to reallocate the roughly $446,000 that we've already set aside from free cash for the HVAC project, and instead to put it toward the betterment. That betterment wouldn't be due because of the current project schedule and FY26. So between that and using the interest from the ARPA funds, interestingly, we've generated close to think about $280,000 already in interest from ARPA. It's been sitting there in the account, gaining interest. And the federal government does not have any of the same restrictions for how that interest can be used. Thus, our intent would be to take that interest and apply it toward the betterment in FY26. So it's a little complex, but basically allows us to be compliant while still making plans to, to still pay for our sewer betterment in fiscal year 2026. So basically, what we need from the board tonight is to just obligate how that remaining $2.9 million will be spent. Again, the $275,000 or $726,000 is for the high school HVAC replacement project. $2 million is to be placed toward paying actual bills that come in on the sewer project, which is a commitment that doesn't change, that's the same. And then the remaining balance of $194,000 would be for water projects. That is the same sewer project, we're doing a portion of water work, and that's what that would be paid for here. So.
Just a quick question. Does this solve our betterment problem? I know we had the shortfall, the band. That was coming due.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So part of it for this year is in fiscal year 2025. It's really next year's is when, because it was supposed when we started the year we thought the project would be done within this fiscal year, but it looks like it's going to be a few months out and us hitting in fiscal year 2026. So we're basically pushing those funds out to fiscal year 2026. So it shouldn't be an issue in this instance.
Okay. I know I sat in on some meetings where it was an issue. So.
Right. So this is partially how we're addressing that.
So it's basically swapping the betterment chunk of the $2 million for the HVAC.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct. Yeah, thank you. That's good. Thanks.
Okay.
So I was a little confused. In the packet, I understand the swapping of the HVAC part. On one part, it says there was $85,000 in interest, and another said there's $280,000 in interest. It seems like...
Changes every day.
Yeah.
I think that's just to, the 85,000 should be, that was the originally the 85,000 was going to be allocated toward the betterment, and now we're saying that we don't need to do that because one of the things we found out in researching it further was that you don't have to apply ARPA interest to ARPA-related projects. You can do other things with it, and so with that freedom, the intent would be to apply it toward our betterment and keep us whole for FY26.
So just to clarify, between the interest that we earned and the money that we're shifting from the HVAC, we're basically coming out even.
Even, correct. That was the plan.
Or pretty close.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
That makes sense.
Great use of ARPA for me.
Move that the select board vote to obligate the remaining town ARPA funding in the total amount of $2,920,288.56 to the following projects. $725,971.43 for the high school HVAC replacement project, $2 million for sewer project bills, treatment plant or collection system, $194,317,000.13 for water project bills associated with the sewer project.
Just before we take a vote.
I was going to have a hold too, just on, so that school HVAC replacement project would have been a capital item.
It already was.
It is a capital.
It was on last year's?
Yeah, so we had put forward about $280,000
Okay,
with it,
all right,
and so
that's-
this is the remainder of it. It's still an eligible project.
Thank you.
That's what, yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, George Sands, 672 Great Road. Am I understanding that the ARPA money interest that is generated is not considered ARPA money?
That's what.
Yeah, so George, I think the way to explain it is that it doesn't, the federal government basically says that you don't have to obligate those funds specifically toward.
It's not restricted to just ARPA program.
It's not restricted, right.
It's not restricted.
Correct.
That you can use it for the betterment.
Right, for any other purpose, and so in this case.
I understand that any other purpose, but they said that there was a question mark about you using the opera money for betterment.
Right, so in this case,
Let me
because,
fin- let me-
okay, George.
So if you got the interest that's coming from that money and you use it for the betterment, I just don't understand how you separate the two and say you can't, use it for betterment.
Right,
But
so.
they're saying you can't, you're saying that they're saying that you can use it for betterment.
Correct. You can use, so if you were doing an ARPA project based upon the money that they provided, then you couldn't use it on a betterment. The interest that we've generated for roughly the 3 million of that we've generated, that's sort of sitting aside, can be used for anything else. And so in this case, because it's not, limited in that way. Yeah.
Different rule set.
Different rule set, yeah.
I just hope that we're clear on that and that we don't get audited on that and say you got to pay.
Ryan's the one
that.
going away.
It's in fact the whole reason why we're having the vote and trying to get, so that we have, that we have a vote specifically taken for that purpose, George.
So the motion's been made.
Second.
Motion by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Minutes.
I like the 43 cents too, that's a nice touch.
I wanted to say $2 million.
It's 43 cents. It's like what?
I had no corrections for the minutes. Mark, we all look at you.
I wasn't here.
That's where we're going with it.
No.
Move that,
Everything I said was perfect.
move that the select board vote to approve the meeting minutes from the select board meeting on December 2nd, 2024.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye. Move that we adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Happy holidays, Littleton.
Merry Christmas.